Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, January 19th, 2026. First of all, celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I personally believe he was a great man with a great philosophy. So, hats off in celebration to that. So, markets are closed today, but I'm having a show. Anyway, a lot to talk about as we go into the week. So, figure we'll go ahead and have a quick conversation. I know many of you are working as I am this morning. If you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, do me a favor, give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Remember, we go live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. And of course, my name is Hammer. I'm the founder of Originator Success, Grab and Go Social, and Rate Sensei. If you would like to get a text alert that I'm going live, you can go ahead and sign in at hmmr.io/reminder or sign up at hmmr.io/reminder, get a QR code or use this cool QR code. I need more coffee this morning, get my butt kicked. But anyway, so great to have all of you here. Good morning, Deb Dickinson and Tom Dedmore. Hope you all are doing well today. Who else is here this morning? We got Alexandria Villanueva. Good morning. And let's see. It says there's like 6 or 7. So I would figure most Illos. What do you guys think? You think most Illos are working today? I think so. Kind of like there's a few different of the, I call them the lightweight holidays. Not that they're not important for what they represent, most of the time at least, but kind of what gets done with that. So anyway, this morning, we'll take a look at where Friday ended and what we got going on for this week. We've got PCE inflation data coming up this week on Thursday, and it is coming up. It doesn't show up on the MBS Live calendar. I don't know why he doesn't have it on the calendar. I don't know if he knows something I don't, but I'll show you on the Bureau of Economic Analysis. It's on the BEA's website. So good morning, Lisa Krempf. Phone rang at 8:02 a.m. Good for you. Yasmin Martin, good morning. So, all right, well, let me go ahead and show you the screen and we'll dive into that stuff and go from there. And forgive me, I have been working on the house, my son's house, all weekend. Why is that? No, that's not the right one. Well, let's try again. Entire screen. Here we go. Screen 1. All right. So I've been doing my work on the trades. I'll show you in a little bit. But anyway, take a look Friday. It's right here. This red candlestick. You can see it right here. Everything on the right-hand side of this dotted line right here. This was Thursday. This was Friday. We don't have today because markets are closed today. So on Friday, there was a little dip as pricing was coming out. So it generally wasn't too whatever. We did see an increase, but bonds did close worse on the day. They did work their way down, clean that up a little bit. So generally, again, working lower. And if we look at the candlestick specifically, remember that this green candlestick right here, that was the announcement from Trump on Truth Social right here that we went from being down a little bit on the day and it popped up and was great on that Friday. Things took off. That was the announcement that he was going to have his representatives, that's the word he used, buy $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities through Fannie and Freddie. But since then, you could see that bonds have come to earth and come back down and still a little bit better than where we were, but not half a point better in rate. We dipped. Most lenders, we were about a quarter point better at the max. They've lost about an eighth of that on average. So we're probably about an eighth better. When you take a look at using Mortgage News Daily as the reference point there. Hold on, let me just get rid of that. There you go. When you use Mortgage News Daily as a reference point, you know, we're certainly a little bit better. We were right around that six and a quarter mark, 619, 620. That was kind of the highlight there. We dipped down. We were in the fives for sure. I know they're still showing 6.01, but it's in the fives. And it kind of it's crept back up. 6.07 is where they had it on Friday. So, and I think it's pretty accurate. When you look at what's being locked, when you looked at Optimal Blue, and we'll turn off FHA and Jumbo for a minute and just use conventional, you see a very similar behavior. We had that, move lower right here, the lowest point, and let's see what that was. That was on Monday, January 12th. So Friday loans were being locked in 6.037. 5.999, and then it's just kind of crept up a little bit. I mean, what really is the difference between 5.999 and 6.043? Remember, though, one thing about when you're looking at Optimal Blue here, that's not rate sheets, it's locks, and it's locks with points. Like, you don't know what the fees were to get those locks, but it does show kind of what everything was being locked at. So that's what you want to remember. It doesn't necessarily reflect that people are paying a little bit to get that rate now, whereas they might not have had to pay at that lowest point. So keep that in mind when we're there. Oh, I can move this over a little bit. You probably didn't see all of what I was drawing at, but anyway, not much on there. Good morning, Ron Siegel, Chris Dickerson, Christy Rezor, Megan Bissell. Great to have all of you here. Ron, what day is it? You're late, dude. Tell me something. Tell me what snacks we're eating or what national day it is. But otherwise, bond market is closed today in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A lot of what's on the headlines is all the Greenland stuff, and I'm curious to see how that does play. I don't think we're going to see it really push into bonds right now. I don't think anyone thinks we're going to go to war over Greenland, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on this. I'm not going to get too deep into the topic outside of its possible effect on mortgage rates. Except for what I will say is it's a complex topic, and look at it from all sides before you form a full opinion, and don't necessarily be led by the left or the right, if you will. There's pros and cons on all things, and depends on if you want to look at the long game or if you believe what other countries could do, and if just different things. So, but as far as it's definitely going to ratchet up, this is a real thing. We are absolutely, at the end of the day, we're going to end up with tremendous control over Greenland, or Greenland will become like Puerto Rico, or we will at least have blocked China and Russia. I believe that that's all very much in Trump's plan. So in order to get there, the question becomes, what effect does it have on global economies? You've got, EU eyeing, getting involved to do something against the U.S. about it, and, eyes tariffs of $93 billion of U.S. goods over threats, and Trump links Greenland threats to Nobel Peace Prize snub. I think that's just theater, but we really want to look at what effect all of this is going to have on the economies and our economy and bonds and that kind of a thing. So right now, nothing that we can really put our finger on that says we're going to see a strong reaction to that situation. And I don't think we will. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. So other stuff this week, Ron, we talked about that Mortgage News Daily and MBS Live, that on their economic calendar that they didn't have the PCE date, but that is, as you can see, releasing January 22nd, which is, I'm double checking here, that is on Thursday. So we are getting PCE on Thursday. And also, I believe there's consumer sentiment. I'm not really a big fan of Rate Alert, but looking at their calendar, yeah, I got it. Close it. Okay. So looking at the calendar, they show the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index as well as the PCE here, and GDP. They're showing GDP data coming out on Thursday. So I don't know why MBS Live not showing any of that. The MBS Live showing it as a very quiet week. But we've got some housing data stuff coming out on Wednesday, but that won't affect rates. GDP data we'll keep an eye on if that does come out. PCE is going to come out, but not going to be, it doesn't move markets. We have not seen the PCE move the market in months and months and months, because the CPI gets to steal the thunder ahead of time, and consumer sentiment index will come out on Friday. But realistically, what we're looking at, I mean, I'm going to stay in the same situation that I've been in for quite a while. I got it down on the bottom of the screen. I mean, if it's closing within a couple of weeks, I would look to lock. Remember something, the expectation right now of a Fed rate cut, there's not one for January. That January meeting is January 28th. And we'll see what kind of drama, but there's really not anything good that can come from that meeting for mortgage rates. There's not going to be a hawkish message from Powell. There doesn't have to be. The labor market is weak, but it's not showing enough weakness. So this January 28th, I mean, if you're locking anything closing the next couple of weeks, there's nothing big happening before this Fed meeting, and I wouldn't be waiting till that. And then we go into the first week of February. We've got the, labor market data and everything else coming up. March, there's a little bit of an expectation we could see a cut, but not much. April, that goes up a little bit more, totals out to about a little less than 35% or 40%. But it's not until June. That's when markets, now you're down below 50%. So markets don't believe we're going to see a rate cut before Powell leaves office in May. And all this drama around Powell has not hurt rates or has not affected anything. So Ron says, don't be led by left, right, or biased media. National Popcorn Day. All right, there we go. Let's have some fun with that one. There's about 25 people on the chat today. Let's talk about that one. Question of the day. What is your favorite flavored popcorn? What is your favorite flavored popcorn? Are you a caramel corn, a cheesy corn? Do you go to those fancy places and get Reese's corn or dill pickle popcorn? What's your favorite popcorn flavored popcorn? So what I'm going to put it on here. What is your favorite flavored popcorn? Caramel, cheese, fancy stuff. I'm putting that on there in the comments so that it's on there. And you guys, let's hear it. Ron said, lock, we can't forecast geopolitical events which can move markets. Yeah, I mean, even for 15 to 30 days, I'd consider locking. There's not a lot of reasons to rates move lower, even if Fannie and Freddie are buying up a bunch of mortgage-backed securities. We already saw the bang for the buck on that. So I don't think it'll get much more than that. I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing for now. Good morning, James Mahan. What's your favorite flavored popcorn? Siegel said today is National Popcorn Day. I like the sweet stuff, so I would go. Do you remember the fruity colored stuff where it was like red and green and blue in the popcorn, like the Fruity Pebbles type? I always like that. Ooh. Yasmin Martin, caramel, cheesy, and chocolate drizzle. Damn, woman, you like your popcorn. You've got it dialed in. Chris Dickerson, dill pickle for the win. See, I knew that dill pickle was going to show up on the list. There's a fancy popcorn place by my daughter and Austin's house in Charlotte, in Belmont, North Carolina. And we've been in there, and they've got, 40 fancy flavors of popcorn. And it's funny to see all the different ones that they have. So what you doing, Miss Sophia? Come here. Miss Sophia wants to say hello. You going to say hi to everybody? You gonna say hi, Snuggler? So, kettle corn, yeah, good old kettle corn, good old sweet kettle corn. Shaker of maple chipotle seasoning, sweet and heat. Very cool for Tom Dedmore. So, anyone watch football over the weekend? I didn't watch much of the games. I did watch the Rams last night. Beat the Bears. They should have beat them. It was surprising that touchdown at the end, man. I'll tell you what, Caleb Williams has a hell of an arm. I don't care what anybody says. And I know Dave Zelinski's not watching, but that Bills interception was an interception, guys. Come on. I don't know why it created so much of a hoopla. If the receiver has to maintain possession all the way through to the catch down to the ground, through the ground. If the ball would have popped out of his hands and rolled on the ground, it would not have been a catch. The fact that he was on the ground and touched does not matter. You have to maintain through the whole process. That was absolutely an interception. Deb Dickinson's looking for the Seahawks. I have a hard time voting for the Seahawks. I'm not a big Sam Darnold fan. He played for the Panthers for a little while. He wasn't that good. So I think he played, but I would have said that he played over his head with the Vikings, and then he had this year with the Seahawks. So I got to give him credit. Parmesan cheese or caramel drizzle. Yeah. Ron said fresh kettle corn right out of the kettle. I've been to some places where they do that, and it's a lot of fun. Christy Reeser, fancy holiday, sweet, salty chocolate drizzle. Y'all like your drizzle stuff. So, yes, Miss Girl. I know she's sitting here on my lap all snuggly. And Miss Sophia is. So, all right, my friends. Well, that's it for today. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Get a good start to the week. It's not like we're going to see much action this week, but I think we could see things creep a little worse. I don't necessarily think they're going to get that much better. That's for sure. So, all right, I'll see you guys later and have a great one. Bye bye, my friends.